Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and a group of ministers travelled to Bucharest for Polish-Romanian intergovernmental consultations. During the visit, the Prime Minister also met Romanian President Klaus Iohannis. Romania and Poland are in talks with the European Commission over export tracing mechanisms for Ukrainian grain to ensure local farmers are not hurt by a flood of cheap imports, the Polish and Romanian Prime Ministers said earlier today. Ukraine, one of the world's largest grain exporters, has seen its Black Sea ports blocked since Russia invaded more than a year ago and has been forced to find alternative shipping routes through European Union states Poland and Romania. But logistical bottlenecks mean that large quantities of Ukrainian grain, which is cheaper than grain produced in the European Union, have ended up in Central European states, hurting prices and sales by local farmers. Romanian and Polish Prime Ministers Nicolae Ciucă and Mateusz Morawiecki told a business conference in Bucharest their governments were working on solutions with the European Union. Together we are engaged in a process to discuss with the European Commission about what the mechanism should be to enforce the traceability of Ukrainian exports and final destinations. Poland's Prime Minister Morawiecki said they are fighting together for this grain to leave our countries, for the European Union effectively to help us in the implementation of trade policy, which is in the best strategic interest of Ukraine and Central Europe, but also in the best economic interest of Poland and Romania. Earlier this month, Romanian Agriculture Minister Petre Dea said the European Commission has estimated farmers from Poland, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria and Slovakia have lost €417 million overall from the inflows of cheaper Ukrainian grain onto their markets. Dea also said the Commission aimed to hand out compensation worth €56.3 million to Polish, Bulgarian and Romanian farmers, with the final decision expected on the 30th of March. Belarus will certainly face further European sanctions in response to a Russian plan to station tactical nuclear weapons in the country, Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki said today, as tensions between Warsaw and Minsk hit new highs. Prime Minister Morawiecki said he was in daily talks with other European Union leaders about the 11th package of sanctions against Russia and that it would include more measures targeting Belarus, a close ally of Moscow. This step taken by Russia, which for now is the announcement of the deployment of nuclear weapons in Belarus, will certainly lead to the announcement of additional sanctions. The level of sanctions will be much more severe for the Lukashenko regime. We border directly with Belarus and therefore in Poland we are considering tightening the parameters of passenger and freight traffic as part of our bilateral relations in order to send a clear signal to Lukashenko that we do not accept actions that serve Russia in its aggressive actions in Ukraine and its aggressive actions against Poland and against other European Union countries. President Vladimir Putin said on Saturday Russia would station the nuclear arms in Belarus, his latest gambit in a worsening standoff with the West over the Russian invasion of Ukraine last year. The United States, the world's other leading nuclear superpower, has reacted cautiously to Putin's statement, with a senior Biden administration official saying there were no signs Moscow planned to use its nuclear weapons. Relations between Warsaw and Minsk were strained even before the war in Ukraine made them allies of opposing sides in the conflict. Amid the deteriorating ties, Poland closed one of its key border crossings with Belarus in February, a move Minsk has condemned. Today, Morawiecki said Poland was considering further limitations on cross-border traffic. Earlier today, two rival alliances of European Union countries held last-minute talks in Brussels, ahead of negotiations on whether to recognise nuclear power under the European Union's renewable energy goals. The standoff comes a day before European Union countries and lawmakers are supposed to agree tougher EU targets to expand renewable energy by 2030. A key part of the bloc's plans to reduce CO2 emissions and wean itself off Russian gas. The negotiations are bogged down in a debate over nuclear energy, with the issue threatening to thwart a deal on one of Europe's main climate policies. Countries were still split on Tuesday morning. 11 countries led by Austria and including Germany and Spain met on Tuesday to discuss their push to keep nuclear energy out of the renewables targets. They say mixing nuclear energy into the renewable energy law would distract from efforts to massively expand wind and solar. On the other side of the debate, French Energy Minister Agnès Pannier-Runacher convened a meeting of 13 pro-nuclear countries, including the Czech Republic, Finland, Italy and Poland. I think it's not about putting renewables and nuclear on the same footing when it comes to the type of energy. However, as a solution to decarbonisation and a way of respecting our climate trajectory, and as a solution so we can have competitive electricity which supports our industry, nuclear has an important role to play, and the Commission recognised it this morning in our meeting.
We can try to find a solution for the French, but nuclear is not green. Sorry.
And I would say that the European Union really is at a crossroad. If we don't show respect for that different member states choose different power sources now, we will most likely prolong our dependency from fossil sources. We will most likely prolong our dependency of Russia as well. And given the choice of either prolonging the dependency on Russian gas or also including nuclear or hydrogen somehow produced with nuclear power, we're seeing a shift in a lot of member states. But I mean, the way forward is renewables, it's fossil-free.
Last week, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said cutting-edge nuclear projects would not receive the full benefits on offer under proposed EU incentives to support green industries. Some of those countries are pushing to count low-carbon hydrogen produced from nuclear energy, towards the EU renewable energy goals. They say countries should be encouraged to use nuclear-based hydrogen as well as renewable energy-based hydrogen, since both are CO2-free and can therefore help nations to quit fossil fuels more quickly. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited two northern towns today to celebrate their recapture a year ago in battles which he said showed Ukraine would defeat its Russian invaders.
Zelensky visited Ochtyrka and Trościaniec in Sumy, the sixth region he has visited in the past week, some of them near the front line, as expectations of a Ukrainian counteroffensive rise. In the Sumy region, here in our Ochtyrka, we pay tribute to real Cossack courage and the unbreakable spirit of our Ukrainian heroes, those that fought here for their town and land, thus for all of our country, Ukraine. We pay tribute to those that destroyed Russian columns and thus destroyed the enemy's plan directed against all Ukraine and Ukrainians. Our official border with Russia is quite close from here, a border that no tyrant will ever manage to erase. Ukrainians are going to live here, in their towns and villages that we must rebuild after the war. And I'm convinced that we'll manage, and we'll certainly never forgive, because justice is what we need. Russian forces poured into the Sumy region, which borders Russia, at the start of the invasion in February 2022. They were driven out of the region after about a month of occupation that was met by fierce resistance. The video footage posted online showed heavily damaged buildings in the towns Zelensky visited. Ukrainian officials say territories close to the border are still regularly bombarded by Russian artillery and airstrikes. The Russian invasion has been bogged down for months in fierce fighting along the Eastern Front, and Ukraine's ground forces commander said last week that a Ukrainian counterattack could come very soon.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.